Hi, everybody. Welcome to the second Google Jenkins Summer of Code presentation sessions. Today, we conducted this session as Jenkins Online Meetup. So we'll have some introduction, and then students will do their presentations. Let me share my screen. Okay, do you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, so we have all JSOC students on the call, plus some mentors, plus some participants. If you want to join the call and ask questions, we also have Jenkins Gitter chat. There is JSOC SIG there, and you can find a participant link there. And actually, it's a main channel for asking questions, but if you also want to ask questions without using Gitter, we have Jenkins chat in RC. So if you ask questions there, I will process them and ask them to participants. So yeah, let's start from the presentation. So as I said, this is the second session. The previous one was 4 weeks ago, and all students have already presented their projects. But today we do these presentations from scratch. So if you have not participated in the previous meetup, please stay. You will see all introductions, etc. Yeah, as I said, there are two QA channels, so please feel free to join any of these channels. Okay, so just to provide some introduction, what is Google Summer of Code? So Google Summer of Code is the biggest open source initiatives and event for students. So the thousands of students participating in Google Summer of Code. They join different open source organizations and work with mentors from these organizations in order to develop some open source code. And yeah, this year Jenkins participates in Google Summer of Code. This is our second year. We have participated 2 years ago. We had 5 projects, and some projects were successful. So it was a nice experience for the organization, and we want to participate again and again. And yeah, this year we joined the project, and we have 3 students. So Shinyu Zheng is working on code coverage API plugin. Wutuan is working on remoting over Kafka, and Abhishek Gautam is working on simple pull request job plugin. If you want to find more information about these projects, you can go to the project page, Jenkins.io projects JSOC, and you can find all information there. So you can go to any project, for example, Jenkins remoting over message bus. And here you can find all information about the project, links to the presentations, to the previous blog posts. And if you want to find more, you can also join a project-specific Gitter channel and project GitHub repositories. So what do we have now? So JSOC is a multi-month project. It has started in February. Now it's July, but we also have 4 weeks of coding ahead. So maybe after this month of coding, we'll have a second iteration. But even now, all the projects have reached the demoable stage. You can find this project in Jenkins experimental update centers. So we decided that it's a good opportunity to showcase these projects and probably to get some feedback from the community. So let's continue with presentations. Let's start from Shenyu, and then we will proceed with other presentations. So Shenyu, are you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Okay, so if you share your screen, I'll make you a presenter.
Yeah, so can you see my screen?
Just a second. So yeah, I've presented you to everyone. So now all participants should be able to see it.
Yeah, okay. So I have participated in this year's JSOC Jenkins project and work on code coverage API plugin. My mentors are Steven, Supen, Jeff, and Oligan. They give me much help in this project, and thanks them. So about me, my name is Shenyu Zheng, and I am a third-year student in computer science and technology at Henan University from China. I like programming and reading, especially reading some books about history and philosophy. In phase one, I had planned those things. Prototype based on Kafka plugin, data model, integrate other Java code coverage tool like Jecoco, O2 detect support, health report support, pipeline support, and threshold support. Also, I have modernized the report and write some unit test. So in phase two, I had planned to do those things, APIs which can be used by others, like integrate Kafka plugin with code coverage API plugin, like provide Java API and REST API for getting coverage information, and implementing abstract layer for other report format like JSON. Also supporting converters for non-Java languages. I only support the Java language coverage tool in phase one. Supporting many reports within a build, adding in code coverage result page, and refactoring the configuration page to make it more user-friendly. So first, I have done the integrate other plugins. So for now, I integrate Kafka plugin with code coverage API plugin, and I also have added a new API option in Kafka plugin, like the screenshot. So now we can enable code coverage API plugins in Kafka plugin. When we click this checkbox, and it will generate a new format report with more fancy UI chart. Also, I have provide some REST API. We can get coverage data, get trend data, and get coverage data of the last build, get trend data of last build. So I will demo it. Yeah. So as you can see, we have a coverage result page in the Jenkins. We can get a result page by this. We can get coverage information by this in JSON format by this link. When we this, we will get more information. Also, we can get trend data from trend data by also by XML format. Yeah, as you can see, we can also get trend data, and also the last trend and last coverage data. Like that. Besides the REST API, I have also supported more coverage tools like LLVM coverage JSON format report, and you can see more information in this pull request. It will generate LLVM coverage report. It will show LLVM coverage report by more fancy UI like that. Yeah, we can get functions, files, and vectorize the coverage data. Also, I have other improvements like add source code navigation in coverage result page. So for now, we can view the source code with coverage information in OR coverage result page, and also refactor the configuration page to make it more user-friendly, and user can now more easy to use OR plugins. So the status of phase one plan is like that. I have done those things except the supporting companion reports within a build. in phase 3 plan, I plan to supporting more coverage tools like gcover, like coverage.py, and other coverage tools. Also, I will polishing the code, fixing bugs, and writing development documents and user documents. And final, I will releasing the plugins. So this is the links of later resources. You can get more information from those links. Yeah, thanks.
Thank you for the presentation. So I've got a question. Could you please show code coverage browsing, if possible? I mean, in your demo.
Oh yeah. It's like that.
Right.
So, so what's the question?
So is it possible to see code coverage statistics? I mean, is it possible to see code and to see code coverage stats for it?
Oh, you mean show the source code?
Yes.
Yeah, you can see the source code with the college information in this level.
Oh, that's cool. So it was one of the questions from the previous demos, and yeah, Shinyu has implemented it maybe in 2 days after the meetup. Yeah, thanks for doing that. So let's proceed to other questions. JC was asking about unusual format of API for trends. So JC, maybe you would like to ask a question directly in the chat.
Oh.
Yeah, JC is on the call today.
Yeah.
Which question?
Okay.
About trend APIs.
Oh, right. Yeah. So, well, normally in Jenkins, you have different model objects, and then they have an API, get API method, and then the API object serves all of the export API. And I just saw a strange URL pattern here that I never seen anywhere else in Jenkins, so I was curious about that.
Oh yeah. So in Jenkins, we can get an object by URL. So API actually is not a normally API. It is an object, and it will return. Oh, I will show the code for you. Yeah. Wait for a minute. So as you can see. API actually is not return the API object. It will return a RESTful coverage wrapper. And in this class, we have API returned. So we can we can get a RESTful coverage wrapper by visiting the API, and then get a real API information by those methods. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I suggest. To make this consistent with everything else in Jenkins, I suggest refactoring this so that the first class, so that coverage result has an API get API method, and then it also has a coverage trend tree get trend method, and then coverage trend tree has a API get API method. That would be consistent with usual usage in Jenkins, so that each model object has a /API/XML or something like that.
Oh, okay. I will look at it.
Yeah, it will look better in the UI also. There's reasons to do that with the automatic API link that you get at the bottom of pages and that sort of thing.
Yeah, you're right. I will create a ticket for it. Thank you.
Okay, JC, you had another question, right? about levels of information.
Right. So, yeah, it's been a long time since I looked at it, but I sort of remember that maybe it was Jacoco could track coverage of a if-then statement on a single line of source code, and Cobertura could not do that, or maybe it was Emma or some other, sorry, Clover or something else didn't track it. So I was wondering if the API has a way of handling tools that have different levels of detail. So some tools may keep coverage per line number. Some tools may keep coverage with more level of detail. Anything like that?
Oh, you mean add a threshold, like if the coverage of a class is lower than some number, so like that?
No, it's more that if I remember here I'm going to type an example here. That some tools are able to have finer levels of detail. So, oops.
Oh.
Yeah. So maybe Shinyu, you could show how the code is organized in terms of multi-language support, because it seems to be closer.
Oh yeah. So for multi-language support,
it's
wait 1 minute.
related to multi-language support.
Yeah, so for now, I have added multi-language support. As you can see, it will support LLVM and Java. So we have both Java LLVM functions and Java class and Java methods in the same aggregate report. But it is still have a little bug. I will fix them later. Yeah, we have a Kafka report.
Yeah, that wasn't actually my question. I'm trying to get work in Gitter, and I'm not having any success with Gitter for today for some reason.
So I guess it's your question about, like, if one of them reports things like branches and the other ones don't. So I think
if you look at Gitter chat, sorry, I finally got it to display properly. It took me some time.
Okay, so yeah.
So I think some tools will be able to say that do something else has been covered by your tests, but do something has not, for example, because rare condition was never true during your test code.
Yeah, okay, I will look at it after meeting.
Maybe a feature of Jacoco or something. I don't remember.
I also don't remember that. But Shinyu, maybe you would like, maybe it makes sense to talk about how plugin developers benefit and which features they get if they integrate with the plugin. Because since JC references these conditions, it seems to be one of the topic for generalization, like we did for thresholds and added multiple options to Cobertura plugin. So maybe it makes sense to talk a bit about such features available.
Oh yeah. Yeah, so if we integrate multiple, wait for a minute, wait for a second. You mean we can specify different threshold like that? If we integrate multiple coverage tool, if we integrate multiple language coverage tool, we can specify it separate.
Yeah, something like that. Actually, what I wanted to say is that since Code Coverage API is an intention to offer reusable features and reusable functionality, it means that every plugin integrating already gets some added value. And yeah, the idea that this code coverage API will be not only API, but some edit functionality provider. So for example, once you integrate a Cobertura plugin with code coverage API, you get trend API, you get this thresholds, I mean, global ones, and you can also add things like, for example, parallel publishing for pipeline once it's ready. So what I wanted to say, from my point of view, that this plugin allows offering such features and make them reusable. And for example,
yeah, go ahead.
And for example, Shenyu has implemented a new plugin for LLVM. It's not a new plugin so far, but yeah, previously we didn't have LLVM support in Jenkins at all. Any user who was using LLVM code coverage, they had to convert the data to Cobertura or whatever other format as a separate tool. And yeah, now it's possible to just write the implementation of few extension points and get it working.
Oh yeah. So for example, we have LLVM support. So we can separate it from OR plugin and make it as a as a new plugin like that. So user can import. So user can just using the just add our plugin dependence and just implement our edit path and to use our new feature like that. Oh yeah.
Okay.
Maybe I'm not understanding the thing.
Yeah. Sorry if I confused you a bit. Yeah. So thanks for the presentation. I see no other questions so far. So maybe Jeff and Steve and Supun would like to say something about the project.
Yeah, so I guess I could go first. So this is something that the Jenkins community, in particular people that work with code coverage plugins in general, have been looking forward to, just kind of finding a way of having a common way of generating reports. And as a user of Jenkins, we spend a lot of time looking at code coverage, and we have lots of different different types of things that we build, JavaScript, native, mobile, etc., with different report types. So we're pretty excited to use the results of this.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, I agree. Also, it's coming along, perfectly, and I'm kind of excited to see the end results as well.
It's not the end results. We still have 1 month ahead.
Yeah.
So yeah,
we're almost there.
Yeah, right. So if anybody wants to provide feedback, it's a good time.
Yeah, I think he's doing a great job. So yeah, we're waiting for end results. Yeah.
Me too. So yeah, thanks a lot for this project. Maybe last question from Jesse before we move on. What is the storage format when using the new API? Still using the binary formats or new format?
Or either using using a simplified XML format of Cobertura report. Remove some. Yeah.
Okay, so you're taking the covert, for example, the Jacoco, I think, has some binary format that it defines. So you're parsing that, throwing away that file, and then saving an XML file using the data you define, right?
Yeah, like that. Yeah, just passing other format report into the simplified simplify the Kafka report.
Was that parsing done on the agent or on the master?
Oh, I think it is done on the. It is depends. It is dependent on the where the reporter is, I think.
Right. Yeah, I'm saying if you ran a build on an agent and say Jacoco report output is on the agent, do you have the agent parse it and send back your generic object structure to the master, or does the agent send the Jacoco binary file to the master and then the master parses?
Oh, yeah, I understand. It will send the file.
Okay.
And
so it's master side parsing. Okay.
Yeah, it would be possible to implement agent side parsing later, but yeah, both approaches have their own advantages and disadvantages. Actually, it's not that difficult to implement another implementation if we need.
Thank you.
Okay, so thanks for the presentation. Let's proceed with the next one. Wutuan will present remoting over Kafka project. Wutuan, are you ready?
Yes, I'm ready. Let me share my screen. Okay, can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, so hello everyone. This is the second phase evaluation for Google Summer of Code. My name is Wutuan and my project is Jenkins remoting over message, bus, and queue. So first is some quick introduction. So I'm a computer science student from Singapore, and working together with me in this project, I have Oleg and Supun as a GSOC mentor, and also I have the support from Jeff and Devin. They are developer from remoting project. So what's this project about? So we have the current version of Jenkins remoting. We use TCP for direct master and agent communication. So they are exiting the problem with these JNLP protocols. First is if the connection or agent fails, we have the build fails and we have to start again. There are also the issue with the traffic prioritization and multi-agent communication, and this impact the Jenkins stability and scalability. So the goal of this project is we want to make use of the message bus technology, and we decide to use Kafka, developed as a plugin to add a fault-tolerant communication layer in Jenkins. This is a overview design what we have in the first phase. So the project consists of multiple components. We have the master side with plugin. We have the Kafka global configuration where we can specify the host and port of the Kafka broker. And also we have a Kafka computer launcher which use the custom command transport which create producer and consumer instance to do the communication. From the agent side, we have a custom engine. We also use the new command transport, and also we bundle the remoting jar from in the agent side. So now the communication we're not using direct TCP direct TCP between master and agent, but instead on the communication is done over Kafka. So the summary of the first phase, we set up the Docker Compose components. Then we do a POC for the command transport implementation. So in order to do this, we have to patch the remoting and the core to make things easy and extensible. And we decide to use Kafka as a final implementation for this project. So you can find more information about this, the first phase, through my blog post. So for the second phase, we want to improve the security and reliability of the current plugin. So we will support we decide plan to support the security for master and agent connection with authentication and authorization, as well as the secret exchange, like we have something similar in JNLP. Also, we want to improve the existing producer and consumer model to ensure reliability. There are bugs in phase 1 and we continue fixing it in the second phase, and we want to in this way we plan to release an alpha version to receive the feedback from the communities. So this our updated design for the second phase. So we support the Kafka with security enable. We can secure it by enable SSL. So from the master side where we configure the Kafka, we integrate with credential plugin to let users to enter the credential, the username and password to connect to Kafka. And so there's another component in yeah, so my mistake. So this will be inside. So this Kafka secret manager is in charge of exchanging secret with agent. So in order to do that from the agent side, we have a client listener which is run in a separate thread to listen to secret initial message from master. So all the communication now is done through a secure channel over Kafka. So there's also an improvement for the producer and consumer model implementation. So previously we used dynamic partition assignment, but for this phase we decided to move to manual partition assignment for Kafka producer and consumer. So when this implementation happened, the benefits we reduce the number of topics for each condition, and also the consumer group need to be used. So next, for the next part of the presentation, I will show a demo for the plugin. So as we continue from the last phase, we can configure the Kafka things from global configuration if we install the plugin. Here we have an option to enable or disable the SSL with credential. So first I will demo with enable SSL option. So we can create a new agent here and choose with Kafka option. So if we click on this enable SSL, we need to provide the username and the security option. Okay, so if we go here, we can see the script to run the agent from a jar file. We have the secret parameter, which is it has using HMark algorithm, and if we copy paste this script to run the jar, we need to enter the password to connect to master, to Kafka and master. So upon connection, we have the agent is connected to master. We can see the command transport, all the command things running from the terminal. And we have the agent connected successfully. Okay, so this is a new feature with the security enable. We can also use connect to Kafka cluster without security. So I will delete this. Yeah, and then I change the configuration to not using SSL. Then if we're not using SSL, we have the flag here, so that this non-secure cluster. Simple, we copy and paste, and we have the master and agent connection over Kafka. Okay, so for the next part of the demo, I will try to run a sample pipeline over this agent. So basically, I have a pipeline here, a sample pipeline here, which run the pipeline of this sample project. So I can try to run it and we see how it works. Okay, so if I start running it, you can see the command transport. The command is sent from the log here. And see the console output is running in the agent side. It's a lot of command transport. And also I also integrate this tool, which is used for administrator to monitor Kafka, where we can see the graph and things, the numbers like that. And I think this might be useful in the future. Yeah, so you can find the use of the tool in Docker Compose. I put it in Docker Compose for this project. Yeah, so we have the pipeline finished and is successful. Yeah, and we can see all the commenting from the terminal. So this is the end of my demo, and I will continue with the presentation. So yeah, so for the current status, we finished the security support. We also finished the improvement of producer consumer model. We released 2 alpha version and under Esperanto Update Center. And so there's a minor feature is the support of Kafka Manager in Docker Compose. For bug fixing is a continuous progress, and we will continue it for the third phase. Yeah, so for the next phase plan is our main objective is to release the 1.0 version because it's the last phase of our summer code. So to do that, we want to do a lot of packaging work and also the test automation for the plugin. And then if time permits, we can try to investigate on the chunking capabilities for cache channel, as well as the consumer pooling or NIO options. So these are useful links for my project. You can see the Jitter or GitHub repository, as well as my blog post about introduction blog post and alpha release blog post. So this is the end of my presentation and time for Q&A. Yeah, thank you for listening.
Yeah, so Jesse had some questions about the connection logic. So maybe we could start from them. Jesse?
Yeah, I just wanted to know a little bit more about the management of agents. So at least with currently released launchers, there's sort of 2 different styles. So one style is the so-called JNLP launchers, usually not actually using JNLP, where the agent is responsible for connecting to the master. And it expects that the master already has a node defined with that name. The agent passes some secret. And if the agent JVM dies for whatever reason, then the agent computer has to restart it by running some kind of service or something like that. And then the other style that the other launchers use is that the master runs some command which causes the agent Java virtual machine to be started remotely using SSH or something like that. And you would choose one or the other depending on how you wanted to manage nodes. So that's especially important if you have elastic cloud systems. So if you're trying to run builds on EC2, for example, then you really want to know what's the easiest way to get everything up and running from scratch on a new EC2 computer. So I was just wondering how that's managed when you're using the Kafka computer launcher.
Oh, okay. So I see the question. So actually I see the last question is a boundary condition. Actually, this we haven't been test. Yeah, I haven't been testing it like the agent die in the middle of build things or
Right.
But we have how to say, because we have the agent is running and it has a separate thread. It has a separate thread for receiving the secret, the initial secret exchange. So it means if the master try to connect, it will, I mean, it will respond again. But yeah, I haven't tested the things like failing. Maybe we can try to do it in the test phase.
Maybe you could show the current connection logic, so it may answer some questions to JC.
Yeah, so is the listener for the Kafka connection, that's something that's running inside the agent JVM?
Yeah, okay. I can show the for the agent, right? Yeah, so for the agent I create a new thread for the, can see my screen. Yeah, so we create a new thread to listen to for secret. So whenever the agent receives the secret, it will acknowledge and start, and it start the engine. It's a custom engine. So the custom engine will create the command transport and it will connect to Kafka. It will start a consumer and producer and connect to Kafka to listen for message. Is this answering the question?
I think so. So as far as I can tell, from the perspective of a Jenkins administrator, it works exactly like the NLP type agent. It is to say you have to start some Java process on the computer. You give the Jenkins URL and some authentication that has to correspond to an existing node definition on the Jenkins master. And then at some point soon after that, a connection is made and it becomes an agent. And if that JVM stops for whatever reason, then you have to start it again from the agent computer.
It's a bit different. So actually both agent and master, they connect to Kafka. But if you talk about Jenkins remote connection, it's been initiated by master. So it works similarly to SSH slaves plugin. So master initiates the connection, but yeah, the assumption is that both master and agent are connected to Kafka. So master sends a connection request to agent, then agent verifies that everything is fine, sends a response, and then master verifies that secrets are fine, etc., and then it establishes connection. But yeah, the thing that master still has all monitoring logic, so ping thread and all other monitors. So master is able to reinitiate the connection. And once master reinitiates the connection, as Wutuan said, the connection pool should be reinitialized. So I think that the implementation is different from JNLP in terms of implementation, and it should be more reliable.
One point is because we use Kafka, so all the messages are stored there. So it means the features of recovering after failure, I haven't tested that yet, but then we have a bus in between, right? So we can reconsume the message. It will restart the agent again. We will try to see it in the test phase. If we use TCP, the things are lost. But now we have a mid-load storage, so yeah. So this one of the benefit. Yeah.
If you use Kafka in standard implementation, I mean without storage persistency, then of course if Kafka dies, the messages are getting closed. But for the rest, the connection works fine. So I spent some time on testing that. And for example, if you bring down Kafka and restart it, master connects. If you bring down the agent and restart, in some cases it can even continue working natively if there was no monitor interruptions. So it means that if network breaks between agent and Kafka, then connection can be restored. And if you make Kafka fault tolerant, for example, using message persistency, using high availability of Kafka clusters, then you can say that communication layer is also fault tolerant. So we need to experiment with that, but from architectural standpoint, it should be possible even now.
Right. Yeah, you can experiment with things like using low-level Linux network commands to simulate having, to simulate a network complete disconnection, or to simulate network hangs or something like that. Or you can even do simulations of packets being sent in one direction but not the other, and that sort of stuff.
Yeah, we have some test automation planned for the next phase. And yeah, of course, non-success path tests for network disconnects will be in focus. Because yeah, it's what it's difficult to hard it. Sorry, it's difficult to test it reliably when you have no test automation. Mm-hmm.
Is there any plan to integrate this into any cloud provider plugins? Because basically anything that defines an elastic cloud in Jenkins has to know something about the launcher in order to make a connection to a newly created computer. So it would need to be explicitly integrated with important cloud plugins in order to be useful.
Yeah, so we have a ticket. I think we have a ticket for integrate with the Cloud API plugin, but we haven't started working on that yet. So not sure it can be done on third phase. So we have this ticket for the Cloud API implementation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, it wouldn't be a single. I mean, it wouldn't be a plugin integrating remoting Kafka with clouds. It would be that for any cloud plugin that we have in Jenkins, we would need to add a new option to use a Kafka-based agent rather than a NLP-based agent. So it would just be patches to existing cloud plugins.
Yes.
Yeah. So this I think could be done on multiple levels. And yes, if a plugin, for example, Docker plugin, if they support custom computer launchers, it can be probably done even now. The only problem is to pass secrets to the agent side. But without authentication, I bet that we can make it working now, because you specify launch.
No, I don't think it's possible, because what Jenkins does provide an interface that allows a cloud plugin to use a launcher provided by a different plugin it doesn't know about. But that only works for master to agent launch methods like SSH.
Yeah, and
there's computer connector, but that assumes that the master is doing the work to create the machine and set up everything, including starting the JVM and initiating the connection and everything. That doesn't really work for JNLP type launchers where the agent is connecting back to the master, which is what this is.
Not exactly, because as I said before, master initiates the connection. So master starts the connection chain, and it means that the only prerequisite is that by the time the master starts connection chain, agent should be connected to Kafka.
Right. Well, yeah, master may be sending some messages to Kafka. That's fine. But from the perspective of Jenkins, it's still the same. That the master has to assume that the agent computer has already been configured, and it has this JVM running, and the JVM is connected to Kafka, and all of those preconditions are there.
Right. So we already
not at all like SSH launcher where the master really does all of the work to take a generic, say, Linux server and get everything needed for remoting to run it.
Okay. Yeah, maybe we could take it offline, but yeah, I'm pretty confident that it's possible because yeah, even now Wutuan has created a packaging for agent in Docker, and when you start the package, the agent connects to Kafka. So it means that if we take Docker plugin with Kafka launcher, it will firstly start container, and container will connect to Kafka, and then the launcher starts, and master connects to the agent. So theoretically, it should work.
Oh yeah, it can be made to work. I'm just saying that you can't use the computer connector API, which means you need to patch every cloud plugin, like Docker plugin, separately.
Okay. Yeah, I propose to take off offline. For example, tomorrow we have a status meeting at the project, so maybe we could discuss it a bit more there.
Okay.
Okay. So I see no other questions in the chat, and yeah, thanks again, Jesse. So just to provide some feedback from the mentor side, yeah, the project looks really good, and we've got a good progress. Yeah, remoting itself is a pretty complicated area because you need to study a lot of things, and yeah, that's why we decided not to implement cloud providers in the first iterations, because it would make the project even more difficult. And yeah, we focused on simple launchers, but even with that, it was a serious ramp up, and Wutuan was really successful at studying the code base. He contributed some patches to remoting itself, and we've already got these patches in weekly. And yeah, I think that the project is doing really good. And after the first phase, we've got one thing which was missing for productization. Security. So now there is SSL encryption, and if you want, you can also play with end-to-end encryption, which is also supported by Kafka. So yeah, I think that it's a really good progress by this stage. And yeah, I enjoy the project. I'm looking forward to see how it gets to the release and adopted in the community. Supun, would you like to say something?
Yeah, and yeah, great to see the project is on track, and yeah, now we have spent much time with Kafka, and so looking forward to see the release version 1.0 soon. So yeah, as you mentioned, he's doing a great job. So yeah.
Okay, thank you. So any last minute questions? I guess no. So let's proceed with the last presentation. So Abhishek will present pipeline as YAML. Our simple pull request job plugin. So this story has two names. Abhishek, are you ready?
Yes, I'm ready.
Okay, so the floor is yours.
So, are you able to see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. Hi, everybody. I am Abhishek Gautam, working on a GSOC project named Simple Pull Request Job Plugin, but we decided to change the name to Pipeline as YAML. So, I am a third-year student from computer science background from Vishweshwara National Institute of Technology in India. I am a regular competitive programmer. I have done 2 internships as game programmer as well, and I am very interested in automation. So that's what motivated me to participate in GSOC project with Jenkins. So the problem is that Jenkins pipeline is Groovy DSL, and it is very complicated even with declarative pipelines. And the main aim of this project is to define a YAML definitions for the pipeline projects. Okay, so there is some prior work to this, and one is Travis YAML plugin. It runs Travis YAML as Jenkins pipeline job, and it does not support any external pull request, and also it doesn't make sense to run any configuration that is for another platform. Another one is CodeShip plugin, and it converts steps.yml and services.yml to scripted pipeline code. These YAML files are supported in CodeShip platform, and yeah, this plugin has never been released. Third one is Jenkins Pipeline Builder, and this does most of the work, but it is a non-Java based tool which cannot be converted into a Jenkins plugin easily. Okay. So my project objective is to build a plugin using which we will be able to define pipeline jobs as YAML. My mentors are Martin Aunja, Kristin Whetstone, Jeff Kanak, and Oleg Nanashev. Okay. Yeah, so as I told previously, that the main aim of this plugin is to define a YAML file using which pipeline jobs can be configured. It should also interact with Bitbucket server, Bitbucket Cloud, GitLab, and GitHub. Also, it should detect some presence of some reports which are present in conventional location and publish them. And it should also publish build result, build status. So design of this plugin, we decided that this plugin will be built on the top of multi-branch pipeline plugin because it has a nice interface to show branches and pull requests separately. It can also detect the trusted version or revisions in the repository and automatically get them. And it also has functions to publish build status to the repository. Okay. So next thing is convert. We have decided to convert YAML configuration file to declarative pipeline, and we are using JCast plugin to configure the steps and get the step object to generate a pipeline snippet for a step. Okay. One more thing was decided that to specify any user scripts to run, users will be giving only the relative path without the extension of the script, and the plugin will detect if the machine is Unix, then it will append .sh to the script, and .sh script will be called, else it will append .bat, and the bat script will be called. So till coding phase 1, we had a git push step which is used to push the changes to the target repository. And build and test performed by user defined scripts called from Jenkins YAML file. Agent configuration was also there in Jenkins YAML file, and we were able to have JUnit reports, find bugs reports, and save artifacts from the YAML file. And a basic interface for converting YAML file to pipeline code was available. So current features, we have a step configurator, which is based on JCask plugin. This is used to get the step configurations from the YAML file and then convert it to the pipeline script. But it has some limitations. What I found two limitations. They are that it has difficulty with enum parameters, but it is resolved recently and it will be fixed in the next release of JCask plugin. Next thing was it has difficulty with some classes like Jira test data publisher.class, and it is not been fixed till now. Okay, so a specific format for Jenkins YAML file has been designed, and details about that, what are the different sections and how to configure the job using YAML file will be there in the blog post. Blog post is not ready till now. It will be in tomorrow. Okay. Tools property in agent section of YAML file has been added so that agent will be responsible for the overall configuration of the machine. Some tests for the plugin also has written, and I was using manual indentation and manual tabs to generate the pipeline code, and that was removed in this phase. Okay. So the step code generation process is like this is, we have a JUnit step here. Okay, sorry. We have a JUnit step here, and user wants to do all this thing. So we will parse this YAML and then pass it to JCask configurator. Then we will get a step object, which we will pass to snippet code generator, and we will get a snippet for the step that has been defined by the user. You can see here. Okay. Example of YAML file. You can. Okay. Okay, so you can see here that we have a agent section here, and we have tools section here. We can define tools and the type of the agent we want. Then we have a configuration section in which we have push PR on success variable. So if this will be true, then the changes will be pushed to target branch if the build will be successful and all tests are passed. We have another thing in configuration section. This is a trusted users, which will be approving the PRs, and we should start a build if one of them will approve the PR. Then we have a we have a environment section. In this, users will be able to define any environment variables and the credential they are going to use in their scripts. Then we have stage section in which users will be able to define all the stages that they want and how they want the build to run. Also, if user wants only only a simple stage, then we have option of one section. It's called steps, and users can just give a list of steps to run it, and the name of this stage will be built in the Jenkins UI. Okay. Plugin configuration. Okay, so how should we configure so that we can use this plugin? So we need to create a multi-branch pipeline project. And yeah, and we can get a branch source, git bitbucket, github, whatever, and we can give credentials, owner, repository, and the pull request behavior we want. And then in build configurations, we have to choose by Jenkins file YAML and save the job, and we will be able to use the plugin. Okay, and okay, for the demo, I have a job already configured, and I have built this PR number 3, and the YAML file for this is, yeah, this one. We have configured agent as any, and we have 3 stages in it. First, we have a step called sh, which will call script, and in build and in test stage also we have test and build script, and we have archive artifacts so that we can archive the artifacts. So you can see here this pipeline code has been generated, and the build was success. Okay. So plan for phase 3 is to test multi-branch pipeline features such as webhook support. We want to include webhook support also here, so that whenever a PR will be created and approved, the build starts automatically. And the part in which users will be able to give some trusted usernames, so that if those people will approve the pull request, then only the build will start. Has not been implemented yet, so that is also one thing. Then we want to finalize documentation for this and release the plugin. And after the release, we want to support when declarative, pipeline declarative directive, and we want to support hierarchical report types. We have a report section in the Jenkins YAML file, which only supports XML reports for now, but we want all the reports to be published by that section only. So that is another thing. And some tests, unit tests and ATS tests needs to be written, and automatic workspace cleanup when PR will be closed. This feature we also want to support. And one more thing is we want to refactor snippet generator, that it's a function to generate the pipeline snippets, and we want it to refactor to extensions. Yeah. So these are the links for Gitter chat and demo projectory or the project repository. And yeah, thank you. And time for questions.
Thank you, Abhishek. So Jesse raised a lot of questions about the implementation in the chat. So Jesse, maybe you would like to ask some of them?
Yeah, not so much about implementation, just about the goals of the project, I guess. That there seems to be a lot of different features here, and some of them overlap with other stuff that happens in other plugins or could happen in other plugins. So I just wasn't sure what the overall goal for this was and how it would mix with other plugin features that get developed in the future. I think that's what most of my comments were about, I guess. Hey, maybe this is more a question for Martin.
Okay.
That's a good question, Jesse. At the start, this plugin, the initial idea is to give the user the ability to have a very, very short description of configuring a pull request. I guess configuring a pull request job. And doing this with the YAML file where the user would simply declare the very high level, I guess, configuration options of running a of building a pull request. That seemed like something interesting to have. Because
I mean, I guess I was asking about sort of scope things like the pull request approvers feature. So I mean, that's something that really applies equally to any kind of multi-branch project. So it's not, I mean, it's not really about this particular Jenkins file.yaml format, really. Right, so that's sort of a feature of the branch source, the Git integration, something like that, potentially. I think we lost Martin, maybe.
Sorry, I got dropped for the call for a second. So regarding potential usages, so yeah, Jesse is right that the features may be available in a multi-branch pipeline or in other such plugins. Actually, we tried to reach out to plugin developers to get them involved in the community bonding. So they were not available in this time. And yeah, our decision was that we try to try to implement an engine using multi-branch pipeline and offering features from there. Because yeah, declarative pipeline was one of the possible engines we could reuse. So we decided that we start implementation from there, and then if people join, if they want to contribute or to generalize the solution, it's possible. So once multi-branch pipeline supports this feature, the only thing Abhishek would need to do is to just replace the current custom implementation by one offered by multi-branch. That's it. Yeah, I guess everybody has some connection issues from the mentors and students. Jesse, does it answer your question, by the way?
Yeah, that's okay. Thank you.
Yeah. So do we have any other questions? Okay, not in the chat from what I can tell. Okay, so yeah, while Martin is trying to reconnect, Kristen, maybe you would like to summarize the project?
Sure. So this last period was really exciting. There was the alpha release of the plugin. So actually, if y'all find it interesting or want to poke around, you can go to the Experimental Update Center and install it and try, using it to see what the features are. There's some YAML. We just released Alpha 2, so that's been really good. And I guess the more we find out what people are doing with it, the more useful this can become. Because, there's only 5 of us here, so it's just whatever we're thinking would be useful for people. And I think Abhishek's done a great job getting that out and getting the YAML syntax all figured out. So, good job.
Thank you, Kristen. Martin?
Yes, I missed part of the conversation, but I think the most important part during this phase was to stabilize the definition for the YAML file, and this enables the project to move forward. So I want to thank Abhishek for his work on that.
Thank you, Martin. Yeah, and as Kristen said, the project is available in Update Center. Actually, each project which we presented today, all of them are available in experimental update centers. So if you go to plugin repositories, you can find information how to launch the project, how to try them. And there will also announcement blog posts which described this procedure. So if you want to try any of the presented projects, it's already possible. And yeah, for the next phase, one of the main goals will be to get them in the main update centers. So it will be available in public. Okay, do we have any outstanding questions? I've got one question from Uli Hafner about code coverage API plugin. So he asked about source code browsing, and he asked whether it should be a part of custom implementation or is it a part of code coverage API. So maybe Yushin, you could briefly respond to this question.
Yeah, it is part of code coverage API implementation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and he also asked whether it would be possible to generalize this engine, because, for example, Uli is a maintainer of Warnings plugin, and he would be also interested to somehow reuse this engine in this plugin, if possible. At least it's how I've got his question in IRC.
Oh, what engine?
Uli has warnings plugin. It's a plugin which shows particular warnings for the code. So there are multiple scanners.
Oh.
And it would be interesting to somehow be able to show these warnings directly in the code. So if I understand his question correctly, he would be interested to, for example, use the engine from your plugin in order to show a warning in a particular code line.
Oh yeah, I think we can do it because the source code resolver is a extension point.
Yeah, maybe it could be possible. Or,
yeah, but I need to adjust my code a little.
Yeah, right. Maybe. And my follow-up to that was actually about a feature of GitHub. So currently GitHub supports displaying warnings in the code directly. So somebody can submit code result to the pull request. So for example, if we take your plugin and Abhishek's plugin, it would be great if when somebody submits coverage and starts, it would be useful to get some comments, etc., to the pull request, for example. When the code is not covered or so. So would be such integration possible and interesting to you?
Oh, I think it is possible. Yeah.
Yeah, check API, as Jesse mentioned.
Yeah, okay. I will collect a ticket for it.
Yeah, right. Thank you for that.
Yeah. Thank you. Also.
Okay, thank you too. So I guess there is no other questions from chat. Does anybody want to ask something? I guess no. Then thanks everybody, and thank you, Abhishek, Shenyu, and Wutan for the presentations. And thanks a lot for all your work. So we are looking towards the next iterations in order to see how the projects evolve. Okay. And of course, thanks to everybody who watched this Jenkins Online Meetup. If you want to get more information about the project, I'll just show some links. Do you see my screen?
Yeah, see your screen.
Okay.
Yep.
So you go to Jenkins.io projects JSOC. You can find all projects here. And here you can also find all information. So for example, if you want to ask more about simple pull request job presented by Abhishek, you can scroll, and here you may find chat. Each of our projects has its own channel, so you can just join there and ask any specific question you have. Oh yeah, it's me there. Then there is a GitHub repository and other resources. So Jenkins.io projects should be a landing page if you have any questions. And yeah, as we said, during the first evaluation, each student had a blog post. So for example, here's Abhishek's blog post. Okay. Yeah, it seems the link is broken. Okay, so let's try to find it here. Okay. Yeah, pipeline is YAML. I think it was missing the slash in the end or so. Okay, so here you may see the description, and you can also find guidelines how to run projects, and such blog posts are available for each project. So if you're interested, just use these materials, and you will find examples and find guidelines, so you can start trying projects even now. Okay, that's what I wanted to share in the end. And of course, we will be publishing all slides, and we will be publishing this video, so you will be able to watch it later. So thanks again, everybody. Thanks, mentors. Thanks, students. So I'm going to stop the broadcast in a few seconds.